The Calvin Show, episode number 4. Look at that. Look at my hand. Look at how bad. Like, here's a cut, and there's a cut here, and this is I don't know what I'm doing. Over here is one.
First rule of Fight Club is don't talk about Fight Club, right?
Oh my God, Ari.
I'm so sorry.
All right, so yeah, we're just shooting the shit. Ari in LA, me here in New York, and we talk about all the things that make life interesting and fun and happy, and we try to chill the fuck out as we're doing it. So what do you got for me today?
All right, we got more questions for you today, man.
Right.
I'm curious about hearing about this one. So you kind of picked up and moved to New York for good about what, 6 or 7 years ago, something like that?
Oh no,
like
more
3,
like
4?
No, 2.5.
Okay, even sooner.
Yeah.
So I think why did you do that? First of all, is a great question, and also, what has that brought you? How has that changed your life, and what were the kind of the difficulties that you faced, and what are the amazing things that have come out of it?
Oh wow, yeah. So I guess it's not the shortest possible answer. So I mean, the background is that I moved to New York. I guess you could say I moved to Texas anyway 5 or 6 years ago, but I moved to New York originally in 1999. I was studying computer science in Copenhagen, Denmark, and I wanted to study a year abroad. And usually what people will do from that part of the world is they'll go to France or Spain or Germany or something like that. And being into computers, it just didn't really make any sense to go anywhere but the US. And then it didn't really make any sense to study because there was a whole .com boom going on. And so I ended up getting a job. And my girlfriend, Caroline, she insisted that we go to New York. Basically, I was looking at LA, I was looking at San Francisco, and for obvious reasons, and UC Davis was applied to. I applied to like a handful of unis, actually, including one in Hawaii and one in Santa Cruz. But then decided she got a scholarship to a university here in New York. So she was actually the one that had us come to New York back in August of '99. And before that, I visited in May '99 to like scout the place out and see if I could find a job, which I didn't. But it was just a love affair at first sight. It was just the first time I was in New York as an adult, and it was just I knew the instant I got here that this was something for me. I've always been very oriented towards America. As a kid, my parents were both programmers, and my dad would bring home computers and computer books, programming books. I remember this one called Programming the 8088 and 8086, which were some of the very original IBM PC. It was like Intel's processors for the IBM PC. So he brought these books on assembly code and the Peter Norton guides to like programming assembler on the PC. So I was super into this, and I was just always oriented towards America versus most people in Denmark will orient towards the UK for English stuff. That was just never my thing. So I got this influence, from an earlier age, and I managed to teach myself English somehow before we had it in school from computers. And so it wasn't, when I got here, it really felt like coming home in a way that I didn't think I was going to experience that, but that's how it felt. And it was a feeling in my body, in my legs, in my bones of just like, there's something inside of me relaxed. And I felt, this is what it feels like to be home or to belong. And that feeling's just stayed with me. So that's why I decided to move back here. So basically we planned on going for a year, Caroline and I, and we ended up staying for 2.5 years. And we were like, look, we both loved it so much. We were like, this is where we want to live. We moved out of New York. We moved to San Francisco on 9/11, or 10 days before 9/11. And then because of that, we ended up, having to, my company laid off everybody on the West Coast. I had to move out. And or find another job to renew my visa, and her visa was out. So it was like, we want to move back to the States for good, but let's just spend a couple of years in Denmark with our friends before we have kids and everybody else has kids and stuff. And then what happened was we just never got back out again. I kept just waiting and pushing for it and being like, all right, so when are we going to move? When is this happening? Because I was like, I'm not going to stay in Denmark. I want to live in the States. I was completely certain. I wasn't certain where in the States exactly. But that was, for me, that was just like absolute certainty. And so eventually we divorced, and there was not a doubt in my mind. I'm gonna move to the States now. This is what I've been waiting for 9 years. I thought it was going to be 2 years maybe. So I ended up staying there for 9 years. And so looking back, I can see how much resistance I really had. And even after that, then I went to California. Didn't have a visa, so I went as a tourist and tried to get a visa, and that didn't work out. And then another attempt, and that's why we ended up in India, because we were like, all right, this visa thing is not happening, and I'm completely broke because I spent all my money on visa stuff. You invest, I think the first time was like $60,000. The second time I invested $100,000 in my own business, but in things that I don't really necessarily need, but you need to in order to apply for a visa. So it was, and living in hotels, and it was just flying all over, and it was just crazy expensive. So, and I wasn't making that much money. So we were broke. So we camped out in India for a while. So it was a long and dramatic process. But again, for me, it was like, I want this. And part of it was, I knew that there was no alternative for me. It wasn't like, well, if it doesn't work out, I'll move back to Denmark. I knew with absolute certainty, no, I can't live in Denmark and thrive. It's that if you look up home in the dictionary, there's two definitions. One is where you're from or where something is from, and the other is where you thrive. And for me, is that Denmark is where I'm from, undeniably. I grew up there. I lived most of my life there, but it's not where I thrive. It never was, and it never will be. This is where I thrive. And so originally, like I said, California, I tried to fall in love with San Francisco so many times, but I just can't. We also visited LA, Encinitas, San Diego, Santa Monica, Malibu, Santa Barbara, Santa Monica is LA, yeah. So lots of places, but nothing really clicked. And then we just ended up back in New York. And it was like, why don't we move to New York? Why not? Yeah, let's do that. And there was something really easy about it, about moving back here. And now I'm super happy that we're here. I do miss things about California, but I think New York is really more my kind of place, to be honest. I really like that you just walk out the door and everything is right here within a block of walking, 2 blocks maybe. And I really like it. So I miss having ground under my feet, like grass and a lawn and a garden and stuff. But yeah, New York is really awesome. So, but that was, there's a lot of working on blocks, my blocks, right? Why did I manifest a situation where it took me 9 years or even longer to get back to where I wanted to live? Why did I create that for myself? Well, once I got into it, I realized that, I had all these things going on about I didn't feel like I was worthy of it. Didn't feel like I belonged. I wanted to belong, but I was also pissed at America for not letting me in. And so there's all this unconscious stuff going on. So I spent a lot of time clearing those things. And yeah, I feel like I'm just talking a lot here. Do you want to direct me in any particular direction to make this?
No, honestly, I mean, I was enjoying the story. I think you covered most of the bases in terms of why you came to New York, and I think the only other thing would be really for you creatively, how is being in this place allowed you to flourish in a way that you otherwise wouldn't have?
Right. I think it's. I mean, a lot of people would ask me, so is it because, business job, you make more money there? What is it? No, it's not about any of that, really. I mean, I took care of my software business from India. I could, you can do it from anywhere. Of course, it matters a little bit where you are. There are things that you can do that you can't easily do when you're on the other side of the planet. But it's more, I started noticing back for the first time I lived here 16, 17 years ago, how I would start to dream in English instead of in Danish. And how I noticed how when switching language, my mental process would be different. And there's just something in my brain where English, in many ways, in most situations, feels better to me, feels more comfortable, feels more natural to me than Danish, which is interesting. But there's something about the culture of Denmark that has never been a fit for me, and language and culture is very closely intertwined, and it's proven that the language that you use shapes how you think. So I experienced that, and I just feel much better with the American English way of thinking and that kind of culture.
I think it goes back to just doing what's easy for you, right? Like not forcing what's hard.
Yeah. And it's really like every day waking up. Right now I'm looking outside of the view here. I don't think I can flip my computer around without causing all kinds of, actually, let's try it and see what happens. I'm plugged in here. I don't want to unplug that, but I don't know if you can see. Can you see anything there?
Oh yeah, it looks beautiful.
Yeah. So I have this, and I have this down that way. Down this way, it's even more amazing. So just waking up to this energy and this view every day, and where I go to shop, and the people at the local supermarket, and like all those things, it just brings a smile to my face every day. And you can go to there are things here. You can go to the club where Richie, who played sax with Billy Joel, he does this jam session every Monday night. Or there's the Julio from Spyro Gyra, which was like one of the jazz fusion bands I used to listen to back in the day. He's usually there too. And it's just you can go to watch I watched every episode of The Daily Show for like 15 years, and here you can go to a taping, and it's all here. Mm-hmm. And that feeling of like just being more, instead of being this outsider watching, looking outside in, watching all this stuff from a distance, actually being there. And it's really helped me to see that, like, when you're looking at it from the outside, it's easy to think, well, they've all got it figured out, and they're so smart, and they're all friends, by the way. They're like community. I'm not part of it. I'm this outsider looking in. It's part of my story too, but it's easy to get into that place. And being here, you realize, no, everybody's just, I mean, these people are not, better or smarter than any of the rest of us. They're just, there's a pretty relaxed culture in America in a lot of cases, I find. Like, and like fun, creative, easyggoing. Whereas, I feel like Denmark culture tends to be like a lot more tight and policing and like, right or wrong and correcting and things like that. So, I feel like I'm drifting again.
It just, I mean, I think, really it's just what feels right for you, and where you feel comfortable, and where you feel like you can express yourself in the most authentic way possible.
It really, really is. It's like every day it's feeling like I'm being stroked with the hairs. It feels really nice versus when I lived in Denmark, I felt like every day was a kind of grinding against the fabric of the place. Yeah. So
awesome.
That's what it is.
Beautiful, man.
So I'm not looking back. I'm like, this is what I have to do. This is what I had to do. And I love every minute of it. So
that's amazing.
Yeah. And if there's, I can just say, like, if there's a dream that you have of like moving to some country, I hear a lot of people who are like, oh, I would love to live in New York like you, or I wish I could something. You can absolutely make it happen. It's not easy. This was a long fucking process for me, right? It was a lot of work. It was a lot of money. And like, I'm telling you, man, the visa application, we're going through renewal of our visas right now. And it's like, pages and pages and pages of documents and translations, and the project takes months, and it requires that you're meticulous and detailed and specific, and you cross all the T's and dot all the I's, and you show up for the interview at the embassy, and you can answer all the questions, and you're just like, and even then you're never assured anything. It's like,
right.
It's a fucking process. It really is. But if you're serious about it, you can totally do it. You can totally do it. So
beautiful.
Yeah.
All right, man. Thank you.
Yeah, well, thank you. All right. Cool. So everybody goes to calvincorelli.com and subscribe to the newsletter if you haven't already. And what else? Send us your questions at hello@calvincorelli.com, and tell all your friends how fun and awesome this is. And not least, chill the fuck out.
Chill the fuck out.
Chill
all right,
the
man.
fuck out.
I'll see you soon.
All right. Bye.